Hi guys, and welcome back to Open Talk with Mary. Thank you so much to those that have already subscribed to my YouTube channel. If you haven't, please do click the subscribe button now while you're watching this video. So we are back on red flags of emotional abuse in a relationship. Like I said, there are many things that constitute emotional abuse in relationship. But overall, when you are being emotionally abused in a relationship, it means you feel dominated in that relationship. You feel like you've got no voice, you've got no say. You feel like a victim and not a partner in a relationship. So these are the things that we're going to talk about today. It's a few guys, but I think they are really important because they do happen in our daily lives, and sometimes we think, well, they don't matter, but with time they do affect us independently, and that will affect the relationship as a whole. The first one that I'm going to mention is bad name calling. That is point number one, bad name calling. So in relationships, guys, we do call each other pet names, which is very, very lovely because it does keep the relationship young, strong, and going. It's very nice. But when you're falling out, and whenever you fall out, you realize that you're being called bad names constantly. Let's take, for example, you're being called stupid, you're being called a dummy, you're being called some of those horrible names that I cannot pronounce. Some start with a B, some start with a P. Those kinds of names that really hurt our feelings. You've got to realize that it is wrong and it is emotional abuse, and you've got to put a stop on it. Because if you don't, with time, you start to believe in those words. They'll start to affect you. And whenever you fall out, you would think, well, it is because of my stupidity that we're having problems. So he or she is right. I am stupid, yet you are not. And it is very, very important that you do put a stop on it before it gets out of hand. Sit down with your partner and tell them, I do not like when you call me these words. Please stop. And they have to listen and they have to stop because they are really harmful and they do affect us. The second one that I'm going to talk about, I call it economic abuse, and it has to do with finances. And this, I would like to address it to my African brothers and sisters, and because I think it is something that happens mostly in our African communities, where the husband says, I don't want my wife to work, I want her to stay at home, I will take care of her and take care of the kids, which is very, very lovely when they do keep those words and they do keep those promises. And still you do have a say over how finances has to run within the house. Because most of the time we tend to realize that when someone is not working, they tend to lose a voice over how things have to be run in the house, especially when it comes to finances. Because someone will be like to you, well, you are seated at home, you don't know how hard I work for this money, but yet they had said to you, I don't want you to work. So it is very important that when you make a decision that your partner is not going to work, it is very, very important that you still allow them to have a say over how finances have to run within the relationship or within the house or within the family. Because at the end of the day, a relationship is a partnership. Whether someone is working or they are not, you have made an agreement and still they have to have a say over the finances. So if you realize that you don't have a say, just because you are not working, I would advise you to be independent financially. I think it is very, very important, guys, that in a relationship, for many reasons that I will talk about in my next video, you become financially independent in the relationship. Have something that brings income at home, so that both of you, are contributing financially, because at the end of the day, we never know tomorrow. You might be like, well, I am staying at home, my man is taking care of me, but anything can happen tomorrow and you'll be left out, So it is very important that you become financially independent. And most of the times in relationship, whoever is emotionally abusing someone, They are the ones who be like, I don't want you to work, but you've got to realize that they are stopping you from being independent. At the end of the day, you have to rely on them, and you be scared of voicing out your own concerns over things because you are thinking, what if I say this and then they leave? What will I do? What will happen to me? What will happen to the kids? How will I put food on the table? You become scared because you are dependent on them financially. So it is very important that you become financially independent in a relationship. The next thing that I'm going to talk about, guys, is intimidation. There are some people in relationships that are intimidating to their own partners, which isn't really good in a relationship, because it is another sign of emotional abuse. Because once you're intimidating that other partner, they become scared of voicing out themselves, because you are intimidating. Maybe you are too loud. Whenever you've got arguments, you become too loud so that only your voice is heard, not theirs. So at the end of the day, they become intimidated. They feel small. They feel like, they cannot voice themselves. So it is very important that no one in a relationship is physically or in any way intimidating to another partner. The last thing that I'm going to talk about is control. So basically, like I said, if you are in an emotionally abusive relationship, you feel like you are being controlled. You feel like you cannot be your own self. You feel like dominated. You feel like a victim in a relationship. And there are some people who are controlling in relationships. Will be like, I don't want you to call this. I don't want you to do this. I don't want you to do that. And those are the things that you are not happy with. As long as you agree together and you show deep down you do agree and you have compromised, it is well. But if you haven't agreed as a couple, then there is something wrong, because that other person will feel inferior to you all the time. They will feel like you have got more power over them. So it is very important that you don't control anyone in a relationship, because most of the times, if you fail to control them, the next thing you're gonna stalk them, or sometimes you might be stalking them by hacking their phone and making sure you see whoever they text and what they are saying. It is very unhealthy in a relationship, and you've got to address it before it gets out of hand, because this is how physical abuse follows. Firstly, it starts from emotional abuse, and that person feels like they are losing power over you. So the next thing they will think, well, if I become physical, maybe it's gonna work. So it is very important that you do stop emotional abuse before it gets out of hand. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, and remember to like, comment and subscribe. See you on my next video.